I stood in the shadows of the grand ballroom, watching my sister twirl in her $10,000 wedding dress while my credit score burned. The crystal chandeliers caught every sparkle of her tiara, and her laughter echoed off the marble floors, the same laugh she'd used 3 months ago when she'd begged me to co-sign her loan. My name is Zlata, and I'm the responsible sister, the boring one, the one who always comes through in a crisis. Tonight, I'm also the one holding a ticking time bomb disguised as a loan agreement. Zlata, darling, why aren't you dancing? My mother Eleanor's voice carried that familiar note of disapproval. She gestured to the crowded dance floor where Sierra and her new husband Eric were lost in their own world. Someone has to make sure the vendors get paid, I replied, tapping my tablet. Unless you'd like to handle the final payments? She wrinkled her nose and adjusted her designer shawl. That's what you're good at, dear. Numbers. Sierra's always been our creative spirit. I bit back the response I'd been swallowing for 27 years. Instead, I smiled and pulled up the loan document on my screen, checking, for the 100th time, that the clause was still there, buried in the fine print like a landmine. Remember when she first showed us the venue? My mother continued, misreading my silence for nostalgia. She just knew it had to be here. Worth every penny. Every penny. 50,000 of them, to be exact. I remembered that day too, but differently. Please, Zlata, Sierra had sobbed, mascara running down her cheeks. The bank won't approve us without a cosigner. You're the only one with good enough credit. That's because I actually pay my bills, I'd said. It's what family does, our father had chimed in from his armchair, not looking up from his newspaper. Your sister would do the same for you. I'd almost laughed at that. Sierra had never done anything for anyone except herself. I'll pay every payment, I swear, Sierra had promised, clutching my hands. Eric's startup is about to take off, and we'll be loaded. Please, please, please. Now I watched Eric whisper something in Sierra's ear, making her giggle. He caught my eye across the room and raised his champagne glass with a wink. I raised mine back, wondering if he knew about the clause yet. Wondering if either of them had actually read the paperwork before signing it. Mrs. Foster, a wedding planner materialized beside me. The photographer wants to know if we're still doing the sunset photos on the terrace. Of course we are, Sierra appeared, dragging Eric by the hand. Zlata, you're in these too. You have to. You made all this possible. If she only knew how true that was. I let myself be pulled outside. The setting sun painted everything gold, including Sierra's perfect face as she posed against the balustrade. Our parents joined us, and the photographer arranged us like dolls. The happy family, the perfect wedding, the American dream. Closer together, the photographer called. Big smiles. This is a celebration. I smiled, thinking about the email I'd received that morning from Genesis, my friend in legal. It's bulletproof, she'd written. The clause is active the moment they miss a payment. If they leave the country without setting up a payment plan, liability reverts to the original sponsors, your parents. They signed it too, remember? I remembered. I remembered every signature, every tear-filled manipulation, every guilt trip that had led to this moment. One more, the photographer called. Everyone say, happily ever after. Sierra threw her arms around me, champagne on her breath. I love you so much, sis. You're the best, the absolute best. Over her shoulder, I watched Eric check his phone, his face momentarily serious, before he slipped it back into his pocket. 3 weeks ago, I'd seen him book 2 one-way tickets to a country with no extradition treaty. He didn't know I knew. Back in my hotel room that night, I opened my laptop one final time. The loan agreement glowed on the screen, signatures clear at the bottom. Sierra's loopy scrawl, Eric's confident slash, my parents' hasty scribbles, and my own careful print. Below them all, the clause waited like a coiled snake. I touched the screen gently. Let's see who pays now. My phone buzzed. A text from Sierra. Thank you for everything. You're the best sister anyone could ask for. Love you forever. I didn't reply. Instead, I closed my laptop and poured myself a drink. The real wedding gift was still coming, and I intended to be very, very patient while I waited to deliver it. 6 months after the wedding, I sat in my favorite coffee shop, staring at my phone's call log. 32 attempted calls to Sierra, 16 to Eric, and 48 unanswered text messages. The first loan payment was 3 weeks overdue. "You're obsessing again," Genesis said, sliding into the seat across from me with 2 fresh lattes. "How many times have you checked Instagram today?" I picked up my phone, opened the app, and turned it to show her. Sierra's latest post showed her and Eric on some tropical beach, cocktails in hand. The caption read, "Living our best life, debt-free and destiny-bound. Chaque blessed, chaque new life, chaque no regrets." Genesis's perfectly manicured nails drummed against the table. You knew this would happen. Knowing doesn't make it sting less. I switched to my messages. "Look what my mother sent this morning." The text read, "The bank called again. Please handle this, Zlata. You know how your father's blood pressure gets when he's stressed." "Have you told them about the clause yet?" Genesis asked. "Not yet. I'm waiting for—" My phone buzzed. A voicemail from Sierra. I put it on speaker. "Hey sis, sorry I've been so hard to reach. The Wi-Fi here is just awful. Listen, about those payment notices you keep forwarding, I know you'll figure it out. You always do. You're so good with money stuff. Anyway, love you. Don't work too hard." Genesis's eyes widened. The audacity— "Wait for it," I said, holding up a finger. The message continued. "Oh, and could you maybe stop calling so much? It's kind of desperate, and Eric says it's bringing down our vibe. Thanks. Kisses." I deleted the message while Genesis muttered something unprintable. "You're sure you want to go through with this?" she asked. "Legally, you're safe. Morally, let them drown." "It's not about them drowning," I said, pulling up my email. "It's about making sure everyone gets wet." My phone buzzed again. My mother. "Zlata, please call me. The bank is being very insistent." I showed Genesis the draft email I'd prepared for the loan agency. Attached was the contract with the clause highlighted, along with proof of Sierra and Eric's departure from the country. "Send it," Genesis said firmly. "Stop torturing yourself." I hesitated, my finger hovering over the send button. Once you do this, you'll finally be free." Genesis reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Remember what they did to you with Dad's medical bills? The college fund they borrowed for Sierra's art school? The down payment for her first car?" My phone lit up with another Instagram notification. Sierra had posted again. "Some people just can't handle seeing others living their dreams. Your toxic family boundaries. Blessed." I hit send. "Done," I said, feeling oddly hollow. "Now we wait." Genesis raised her coffee cup. "To karma." "To contracts," I corrected, clinking my cup against hers. That evening, I sat in my apartment, watching the sunset through my window when my phone rang. It was Stefan, my ex-boyfriend. "I just saw Sierra's posts," he said without preamble. "Are you okay? Why wouldn't I be?" I kept my voice neutral. Stefan had been there during the medical bills crisis, had watched me empty my savings for my father's heart surgery, while Sierra took a spontaneous trip to Europe. "Because you always take care of everyone," he said softly. "And no one ever takes care of you." I thought about the email I'd sent, about the clause that would soon detonate in my parents' lap. "That's changing." "Good," he said. "It's about time." After we hung up, I opened my laptop and checked my email. The loan agency had already responded. "Dear Ms. Zlata, we acknowledge receipt of your documentation regarding the liability reassignment clause. Our legal team will review and proceed accordingly. Expect contact within 48 hours." My phone buzzed one final time, a text from Eric. Real nice, Slaughter. Sierra's crying. Hope you're happy. I typed back. You should have read the fine print. Then I blocked both their numbers, poured myself a glass of wine, and pulled up the folder where I'd kept every receipt, every transfer, every record of money I'd given to my family over the years. The total could have bought me a house. Instead, it had bought me this moment, waiting for the hammer to fall on the people who had taken me for granted for so long. My mother's words echoed in my head. It's what family does. I smiled into my wine glass. Yes, Mother. This is exactly what family does. The memory of drafting the clause was still crystal clear. I'd sat in Genesis's living room 3 months before the wedding, surrounded by takeout containers and legal documents, while she connected me with her lawyer friend on speakerphone. You want it ironclad, the lawyer had said. Something they can't wiggle out of. Genesis had topped off my wine glass. Tell him about the medical bills again. $28,000, I'd said. My entire savings gone because Sierra needed a trip to find herself the same month Dad needed surgery. And the college fund? Genesis prompted. Borrowed, never returned. Sierra's art school dream was apparently more important than my MBA. The lawyer had hummed thoughtfully. We can work with this. The key is making it seem benign enough that they'll sign without questioning, but specific enough to be legally binding. Now, sitting at my desk at work, I pulled up the final version we'd crafted. In the event of default, should the primary borrower leave the country without establishing a payment plan, all liability transfers to the original co-signing sponsors, who acknowledge full responsibility for the remaining balance. Simple, clean, devastating. My office phone rang. Zlata speaking. The clause is active. It was Genesis. Just got word from legal. Your parents are being contacted today. I checked my email. Sure enough, there was a message from the loan agency. Per Section 7.3 of the agreement, liability has been transferred to Elena and Wilfred. Initial contact will be made within 24 hours. How long do you think until... Genesis started. My cell phone lit up with my mother's number. Got to go, I said. It's starting. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hello, Mother. What is this? Her voice was shrill. These people are saying we owe $50,000. This must be a mistake. No mistake. Check your email. I sent you a copy of the contract you signed. But I heard papers rustling. We only signed as witnesses. Read Section 7.3, I said calmly. More rustling. Then silence. You tricked us, she whispered. No, Mother. I learned from the best. Remember what you told me? It's what family does. Your father's blood pressure. We'll be fine, just like it was fine when I paid for his surgery while Sierra was posting selfies from Paris. That was different. She needed to find herself. Yes, I remember. Now you need to find $50,000. She started crying. The sound used to devastate me, used to send me running to fix whatever problem she was facing. Now it just made me tired. We'll call Sierra, she said between sobs. She'll make this right. I laughed. Good luck with that. Her number's disconnected. This isn't you, Zlata. You're not this cruel. Actually, this is me. The real me. The one who's done being everyone's ATM. The line went quiet, except for her ragged breathing. Finally, she spoke in a whisper. What do you want? I want you to pay the debt you signed for. I want you to face consequences. I want you to feel what it's like to be responsible for once. We're your parents. Yes. And you taught me everything I know about family loyalty. I hung up and turned my phone off. Through my office window, I could see the city sprawling out below, people rushing about their days, dealing with their own dramas and betrayals. My computer pinged with a new email. From Sierra, sent from a new address. You controlling bitch. You always want to win. Happy now. Mum's hysterical. Dad's chest hurts, and it's all your fault. I never should have trusted you. You're dead to me. I forwarded it to Genesis with just 3 words. Worth every penny. Her response came quickly. Your sister's about to learn that karma takes Venmo. I opened my bottom drawer and pulled out an old photo, the last family vacation we'd taken together. Sierra in the center, as always, our parents beaming at her. Me on the edge, checkbook in hand, paying the hotel bill. My office door opened. It was my junior associate, looking nervous. Ms. Zlata? I need a favor. Could you co-sign on the Miller account? It's just a formality. I looked at him, then at the photo, then back at him. No, I said, I don't co-sign anything anymore. He blinked, surprised by my directness. But it's just a standard procedure. So is paying your own bills, I said, turning back to my computer. Try that first. As he left, I picked up my phone and turned it back on. 12 missed calls from my parents, 5 new emails from Sierra, 1 text from Genesis. How does it feel? I typed back. Like freedom. The collection agency didn't waste any time. 3 days after the clause activation, my mother showed up at my office unannounced, mascara streaking down her face. They're threatening to put a lien on our house, she said, dropping into the chair across from my desk. Your childhood home, Zlata. I kept typing, not looking up. The same house you remortgaged to pay for Sierra's art school? That childhood home? That was different. She had potential, and I didn't. I finally met her eyes. Is that why you took my college fund? We borrowed it, she said weakly. Borrowing implies returning. I pulled up an old spreadsheet. Would you like to see the exact amount with interest? My office phone buzzed. Ms. Islata, your 2 p.m. is here. Tell them 5 minutes. I turned back to my mother. The collection agency is actually being quite reasonable. They'll accept payment plans. On $50,000? She dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. Probably another of Sierra's expensive gifts, bought with someone else's money. Your father can barely sleep. He keeps checking our accounts, trying to find money that isn't there. Like I did when he needed surgery? She flinched. That was years ago. Why are you still holding on to that? Because someone has to remember. Someone has to keep the receipts. My phone lit up with a text from Sierra. Mom's crying because of you, again. You're such a controlling bitch. You always want to win. Happy now? I showed the message to my mother. Your perfect daughter sends her regards. She's scared, my mother said. She's young. She's 27. I was 24 when I paid Dad's medical bills. But you're stronger. You can handle these things. I leaned back in my chair, letting her words hang in the air. That's interesting, Mother. Tell me more about how being taken advantage of makes me strong. She stood up suddenly, her chair scraping against the floor. I didn't raise you to be this cruel. You didn't raise me at all. You were too busy enabling Sierra. We'll lose everything, she whispered. No, you'll lose what you put at risk when you signed that contract. There's a difference. What do you want from us? I finally smiled. I want you to experience consequences, just once. I want you to feel what it's like when no one comes to save you. My phone buzzed again, a video call from Sierra. I answered it, putting it on speaker. You evil witch. Sierra's face was red with rage. Mom just called me sobbing. How could you do this to them? The same way you did it to me, I replied calmly, except I used a contract instead of tears. We're family. Exactly. And this is what family does, remember? Behind Sierra, I could see Eric pacing, talking rapidly on his phone. He looked worried. Having visa troubles? I asked innocently. Sierra's eyes widened. How did you... It's amazing what happens when your credit score tanks and there's an international debt notice with your name on it. My mother gasped. You didn't. I didn't do anything, I said. Actions have consequences. Isn't that what you always told me, Mother? Right before asking me to fix another one of Sierra's mistakes? Sierra's face crumpled. They're going to revoke our visas. Eric's business deals are falling apart. Everything we built here, you built nothing, I cut in. You ran away from debt and responsibility, like you always do. The only difference is this time, there's no one to clean up your mess. Girls, my mother pleaded, we can fix this. Zlata, if you just pay... No. I stood up. My 2 p.m. is waiting. You both know where the door is. Please, Sierra sobbed. I'm your sister, and they're my parents. Funny how that only matters when you need something. I ended the call and turned to my mother. The collection agency's number is on the letter they sent you. I suggest you call them before they call you again. She walked to the door, then turned back. You'll regret this. Someday, when you need your family... I've needed my family many times, I said. Where were you? After she left, I sat in my quiet office, hands shaking slightly. My phone buzzed with a text from Genesis. Drinks tonight? You look like you need them. I typed back, bring wine and the contract. I want to frame it. Another text came through, this one from my father. We thought you wouldn't actually go through with it. I responded with a single line. That's always been your problem. Then I turned off my phone, straightened my desk, and called in my 2 p.m. After all, I had actual work to do. Bills don't pay themselves. Just ask my family. The forced family dinner was my mother's idea. Sunday dinner, like old times, she'd said on the phone, her voice dripping with false sweetness. We need to discuss this situation like adults. I arrived exactly on time to find my parents already seated at their dining room table. A spread of my favorite childhood dishes laid out like emotional ammunition. Your father made your favorite lasagna, my mother said, serving me a generous portion. Remember how you used to help him in the kitchen? I remember paying for his heart medication after making that lasagna, I replied, setting my fork down. Let's skip the nostalgia and get to the point. My father cleared his throat. The bank is being insistent. Banks tend to be that way about money. We've looked at our options, my mother cut in. We could sell the vacation property. The one I was supposed to inherit? I laughed. The one you remortgaged for Sierra's wedding? You're not being fair, my father said quietly. I pulled out a folder and placed it on the table. Let's talk about fair. Inside was a spreadsheet. Every dollar I'd given them over the years, meticulously documented with dates and reasons. Page 1, Dad's medical bills, $28,000. Page 2, Sierra's art school tuition, $40,000 of my college fund. Page 3, the down payment for Sierra's first car, $12,000. Should I continue? My mother pushed the folder away. We're not here to dwell on the past. No, you're here because the collection agency is drowning you in calls. We raised you, my father said. We gave you everything. You gave Sierra everything. I earned everything I have. My phone buzzed. A text from Genesis. How's the ambush going? Before I could respond, my mother reached across the table and grabbed my hand. Darling, please, we can fix this together for the family. The family. I pulled my hand away. Where was this family concern when I worked 2 jobs to pay for Dad's surgery while Sierra posted Instagram photos from Europe? She was finding herself, and now she's lost herself in another country with $50,000 of my money. My father stood up suddenly, his face red. We thought you wouldn't actually enforce the contract. We thought you'd understand that it was okay to take advantage of me. Again? That family protects each other, my mother interjected. I stood up, pushing my untouched plate away. Funny how that protection only goes one way. We'll lose the house, my father said quietly. Then sell the vacation property. But that was supposed to be your inheritance, my mother protested. My inheritance? I pulled up Sierra's latest Instagram post on my phone. Her and Eric on the beach of that same vacation property last summer. Like how I was supposed to inherit it last year, before you let them stay there rent-free? My parents exchanged guilty looks. You knew, I said, realization dawning. You knew they were planning to leave the country. My mother's silence was answer enough. You helped them plan it, I continued. You thought I'd just… What? Pay off their debt like I've paid off everything else? You're stronger than Sierra, my father said weakly. You can handle these things. Not anymore. I grabbed my purse. Call the collection agency, set up a payment plan, sell whatever you need to sell. I'm done handling things. Zlata, please, my mother called after me. What will people think? I turned at the door. They'll think you're finally facing consequences. How does it feel? Outside, I sat in my car for a long moment, hands shaking on the steering wheel. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Eric using a new phone. Got your little message about the visa issues. Real cute, but you forgot something. I know things about your company, things that could hurt your career. Want to reconsider your position? I forwarded the message to Genesis with 3 words. Time for phase 2? Her response was immediate. Let's bury them. Back at home, I poured myself a glass of wine and opened my laptop. In a folder labeled Insurance, I had copies of every questionable email Sierra and Eric had sent about their plans to default on the loan. Every conversation about fleeing the country. Every piece of evidence showing my parents' knowledge and compliance. I drafted a new email to the loan agency's fraud department. I have information regarding a premeditated loan default. My phone rang. My mother again. I declined the call and hit send on the email instead. Sometimes, I whispered to my empty apartment, the best family dinner is the last one. The anonymous tip took less than 24 hours to detonate. I was at my desk when Genesis burst into my office, her tablet displaying multiple social media feeds. It's happening, she said, turning the screen toward me. Someone leaked parts of the loan documentation to a financial whistleblower site. The story's going viral. Sierra's Instagram comments had exploded overnight. Her latest beach photo was flooded with responses. Must be nice to live luxury while running from debt. How do you sleep at night knowing your sister's paying for your lifestyle? Financial frauds living their best life. My phone buzzed. Eric again. What did you do? Our sponsors are pulling out. I typed back, I didn't do anything. The truth did. Another notification popped up, an email from my father. Subject line, we need to talk. I opened it. Meeting at the house, 7 p.m., come alone. Genesis read it over my shoulder. Trap? Obviously. I closed my laptop, but I'm going anyway. Want backup? No, it's time to finish this. The house looked smaller than I remembered, its shadows longer in the evening light. My father sat alone on the porch steps, looking older than his 61 years. Your mother's not here, he said as I approached. I asked her to let me handle this. Handle what? He pulled out a stack of papers. We found these in Sierra's old room. She left them behind when they ran. Email printouts, bank statements, text messages, a complete paper trail of their plan to take the money and run. You knew, I said quietly. You knew all along. We thought, he rubbed his face. We thought you wouldn't actually go through with the clause. You never go through with consequences. You always fix things. Not anymore. The collection agency called again. They're talking about fraud charges now. Criminal charges, Zlata. Actions have consequences. He looked up at me, eyes wet. She's your sister. And I'm your daughter. Did that ever matter? Silence stretched between us, heavy with decades of unspoken resentment. We got a call from Sierra an hour ago, he finally said. Their visas are being revoked. Eric's business partners are backing out. They're stranded. Karma's not very subtle, is it? Can't you stop this? I sat beside him on the steps, keeping careful distance. Remember when I was 16 and I wanted to go to that summer programming camp? He stared straight ahead. You said we couldn't afford it, but 2 months later, Sierra needed a new laptop for her photography hobby. Premium model, top of the line. Zlata, I'm not fixing this, I said, standing up. I'm not fixing anything ever again. My phone buzzed. A video call from Sierra. I answered it where my father could see. They're freezing our accounts. Sierra was crying, mascara running. Eric's partners are saying something about fraud investigations. What's happening? The truth is happening, I said calmly. How's that working out for you? We're stuck here. The embassy won't help. Our cards are declined. Sounds like a you problem. Dad, she wailed, seeing him in the frame. Tell her to stop this. He looked between us, lost. I don't know how. That's right, I said. For once, you don't know how to fix things for her. Interesting feeling, isn't it? Sierra's face contorted with rage. You evil, jealous. I ended the call. My father stood slowly, papers clutched in his trembling hands. What do you want from us? I want you to sit in this mess you helped create. I want you to feel what it's like when no one comes to save you. I want you to understand what you did to me all these years. We loved you. No, you used me. There's a difference. My phone buzzed again. Genesis. The fraud department wants to schedule an interview. Ready for the final nail? I looked at my father, this broken man who had always chosen the path of least resistance, who had let my mother and sister drain me dry year after year. I have to go, I said. I have a meeting about fraud charges. Please, he whispered. We're family. I paused at my car. That stopped meaning anything the day you chose her over me for the last time. As I drove away, I watched him in my rearview mirror, still clutching those damning papers, standing alone in the growing darkness of the house, where I'd learned that blood means nothing when it's always flowing one way. The collection agency moved fast. Within a week, they began garnishing my parents' assets. I watched from my office as their vacation property listing went live, the same property I'd dreamed of inheriting, now priced for a quick sale. My mother showed up unannounced, makeup perfect despite her red-rimmed eyes. They're taking everything. Not everything, I said, not looking up from my computer. Just what you put at risk. Why are you doing this to us? I'm not doing anything. The contract is. She slammed her hand on my desk. Look at me when I'm talking to you. I met her eyes. Like you looked at me when I begged you not to take my college fund? That was different? Yes, you keep saying that, but it wasn't different. It was just another time you chose Sierra over me. My phone buzzed. An email from the fraud investigation team. Interview scheduled with Sierra and Eric via video conference. Your presence is requested. They're investigating Sierra for fraud, my mother whispered, reading over my shoulder. Our baby girl could go to jail. Should have thought about that before helping her plan an international loan default. She sank into the chair across from me. How did you become so cold? I learned from the best. I turned my screen to show her Sierra's latest social media post, a tearful video about being victimized by toxic family. She's scared, my mother said. She's manipulating. Again. But this time, it won't work. My phone rang. Genesis. Turn on the news, she said without greeting. Local business channel. I pulled up the live stream. There was Eric being escorted from a business meeting by security. The headline scrolled, Local startup founder under investigation for international fraud. My mother covered her mouth. Oh God. Actions, consequences, I said quietly. Funny how that works. They're stranded, she pleaded. Their visas are expired. Their accounts are frozen. Like my accounts were frozen after paying Dad's medical bills? When I had to eat ramen for 6 months while Sierra posted photos from Paris? The office door opened. My father walked in, looking defeated. The vacation house sold, he said. Below asking, but enough to cover part of the debt. Congratulations, I said. You're learning financial responsibility. Only took 61 years. Zlata, my mother tried again. We can still fix this. As a family, We were never a family, I cut in. We were a support system for Sierra. There's a difference. My phone buzzed again, a message from an unknown number. This is Eric. Please, we're desperate. The embassy won't help. Sierra's having panic attacks. Name your price. I showed the message to my parents. See? Now he wants to negotiate. Funny how that happens when the money runs out. What are you going to do? My father asked. I typed a response. My price? Everything you took plus interest, calculate it. I'll wait. They don't have that kind of money, my mother protested. Neither did I when you took my college fund. Neither did I when Dad needed surgery. Neither did I when Sierra needed bail money that one time. But somehow, I managed. My computer pinged. An email from the fraud investigators requesting additional documentation. I have a meeting to prepare for, I said, standing. You can see yourselves out. Wait, my father said. The house. They're talking about a lien. Then I guess you better start packing. My mother burst into tears. Real ones this time, not the manipulative sobs I'd grown up with. Why did you do this to us? She cried. I walked to the door and held it open. You did this to yourselves. I just put it in writing. After they left, I sat back down and opened my email. Sierra had sent a long, rambling apology, the kind she always wrote when she needed something. I deleted it without reading. Genesis appeared in my doorway. Ready for the fraud interview tomorrow? Ready to end this? I said. They're your family, she reminded me gently. No, I replied, pulling up the final piece of evidence, photos of my parents helping Sierra pack for her escape, dated 2 days before the wedding. They're just people who share my DNA. Family would never have done this. My phone lit up one last time, a text from Sierra. I'm sorry, I mean it this time. Please help us. I typed back 6 words. Sorry doesn't pay back $50,000. Then I turned off my phone, opened the fraud investigation files, and began preparing my statement. Tomorrow would be the final nail, the one that would seal not just their fate, but the coffin on every family tie that had ever bound me to their manipulation. It was time to end this story, on my terms. The beach was empty except for me and the seagulls. I sat on the sand, reading the final notice from the collection agency. Debt resolved through asset liquidation. Case closed. My phone buzzed, Genesis sending me a news article. Local couple detained at border attempting illegal re-entry. I smiled. Sierra and Eric had tried sneaking back into the country through Mexico. It hadn't gone well. Another buzz. My mother. They're holding them for questioning. Please help. I typed back. New phone? Who's this? The wind picked up, carrying away her next 3 messages before I could read them. I didn't bother retrieving them from the sand. My laptop chimed with an email from the fraud investigators. Thank you for your cooperation. Charges have been filed. Good, I whispered to the waves. A shadow fell across my screen. I looked up to find my father standing there, looking lost in his now too large suit. The house sold, he said, sitting heavily in the sand beside me. We're moving into an apartment next week. Downsizing can be healthy. Your mother, he paused. She's not handling it well. And nothing. He picked up a handful of sand, let it slip through his fingers. I'm not here to ask for anything. I'm here to say you were right. I closed my laptop. About? Everything. We failed you. We let Sierra drain you dry. His voice cracked. We weren't parents to you. We were enablers to her. Took you long enough to notice. I saw the spreadsheet, he continued. The one with all the money you gave us over the years. Did you know the total equals almost exactly what your mother and I lost in assets? Karma's good at math. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. This was in Sierra's old room. It's addressed to you, dated the day before the wedding. I opened it. Inside was a note in Sierra's handwriting. Dear Zlata, by the time you read this, we'll be gone. Thanks for being such a reliable ATM all these years. Don't worry, Mom and Dad will guilt you into fixing this too. They always do. Love, Sierra. She never saw you as a sister, my father said quietly, and we never saw you as a daughter. We saw you as a solution. I folded the note carefully. And now we see you as someone we lost through our own actions. He stood up, brushing sand from his pants. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just saying you were right to do what you did. My phone buzzed again. Genesis. Holy shit. Sierra and Eric are facing federal charges. Your parents' statement sealed it. I looked up at my father. You testified against them? We told the truth, he said simply. Finally. He turned to leave, then stopped. That spreadsheet, the total you gave us over the years, would have bought this beach house, I finished, gesturing to the luxury property behind us. The one I just closed on this morning. His eyes widened slightly. You bought the vacation house you had to sell? Yes. At below market value, thanks to the urgent sale requirement. I stood up, brushing sand from my legs. Funny how things come full circle. He nodded once, understanding the finality of it all, and walked away. I watched him disappear down the beach, a smaller man than I'd ever seen him. My phone lit up with a video call, Sierra from a detention center. I answered it. They're charging us with fraud, she sobbed. Mom and Dad testified. How could they? How could you leave me with $50,000 in debt? That's different. We're family. Not anymore. I held up my house keys. Remember this view? The beach house you love so much? It's mine now, legally, permanently, and you're never stepping foot in it. You bitch! I ended the call and blocked the number. Genesis appeared at the top of the beach stairs, carrying 2 champagne glasses. Ready to christen the new house? Almost. I pulled up my banking app and looked at my accounts. All in the black, all in my name only. No co-signers, no family loans, no guilt. To karma, Genesis said, handing me a glass. To contracts, I corrected, but then smiled. And to finally choosing myself. We clinked glasses as the sun set over my new beach house, painting everything in shades of justice. My phone stayed silent. No more family emergencies, no more guilt trips, no more manipulation. Just peace, property in my name, and the sound of waves washing everything clean. Sometimes revenge doesn't roar. Sometimes it whispers in legal documents and property deeds. Sometimes it looks like finally closing the door on the people who never saw you as anything but a solution to their problems. And sometimes it feels exactly like freedom.